We have got our good friend Derek Elston in the house. Derek, how are you, brother?
Hey, I'm good, Jim. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, man. Lots happened since we talked last. Miss Parker Geneva has entered the world.
Miss Parker Geneva is in the world and is a crazy 5 months old. And
Man,
everybody says it, man. It flies by. And the fact that she's five, unbelievable. 5 months.
Yeah. Well, wait till she finishes her first year of college.
Oh, God.
That happens. That happens next month, and I'm not kidding.
Ugh.
That's how fast it seems like it goes.
Oh, I know. And people keep telling me, they're like, you know what? That's right around the corner. And I keep saying, oh, we've got time. And sure enough.
I said that as well. I specifically remember pushing Kylie in a stroller and an old man telling me something like that. And I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, God, like I'll never forget that old man telling me. I will never forget that now. I mean, it's emblazed in my mind. But congratulations to you and your wife. She did all the work.
She did. Yeah, she did.
I guess so she's going to be like the Tipton Tornado-ette.
That's what I'm fortunate enough to have found a place in Zionsville. So everybody tells me in the area, it's that caramel feel without like the caramel with all of the caramel kids. So, would I have liked for Parker to grow up kind of the way that I did? Yes and no. I mean, it was so small town. So this is a way to kind of get her out and to get her into a bigger environment. But yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of goes through everyone's head is like, man, do I want to put my baby girl in a situation where she's around all these kids? But I mean, hell, there was only about 7 of us that rolled around in Tipton together. So, yeah. I mean, it's probably a little better than that situation I was in, but
yeah, when you're a boy, you can pretty much create anything you need to create. You need fun, you can create fun. You want hell, you can create hell. Whatever you need to create, you can create.
Right. That's exactly
3 letters I want to say to you. TBT, baby.
TBT.
Jeez. Are you involved? Are you playing?
Well, when the opportunity arose, it was more or less me being on the coaching staff than actually playing. I went down to Evansville probably, now 5, 6 months ago. And my boss wanted me to play in a pickup game. And it took me, I think we played 7 games. It took me every bit of 3 to finally feel like I could loosen up a bit. So I don't think I could compete with those guys, but I really wanted to be on the coaching staff.
Get some minutes, maybe.
When I was overseas, the player coach, and that would have been fun.
That's what I'm thinking about.
No, I can't do that. I can't pull that off anymore. I'm scared to death to get hurt anymore. So I really want the coaching staff, but with all the travel those guys do, and Parker being as young as she is, I did everything in my power to get those guys, connected to who was putting it on. And I'm still involved in that and just, figuring out names and phone numbers and sending emails to guys. But as far as being like on the bench, I just wouldn't be able to make it happen.
And I saw right now they've got 2 guys on the team. Josh Newkirk just added on to Devontae Green, are the 2 that's been announced so far. So you've got some guards, but it's very interesting. I know DJ White is still playing overseas.
Oh yeah. You're going to see some names come across that Twitter page here in the next couple of weeks that are it's going to be exciting, especially for fans.
And here's a name that's going to be very difficult probably, but who is someone that is at the top of their game right now? Mr. Jordan Hulls, who's shooting 45% from 3 at the moment. So he could definitely step right in and knock it down. I know I don't know if there's ever been an active coach play in the TBT. That would be incredible.
That never even registered to me. So that's a great call. I think if he was able to pull that off, plus he's got he did that for, I believe, 3 years, maybe 2. So he's got some experience being there. So that would be an unbelievable call. But there's some guys out there that are playing overseas or you know, maybe have just stepped away from the league that might come up on this radar. And I'm not going to give any away, but there's going to be some exciting names, and it's going to be an opportunity for this team. Just with on paper, it's going to look like it's got a big shot to go far in this thing.
I think you should come on each time and break the news here with us, and we can announce it to the world and send it out and go forth. As a matter of fact, I will volunteer to be your personal media outlet to send everything out, man. Anything you need promoted, boom, it's done.
Boom. All right. Yeah. All right. I will let them know that I'm going to get on a Jim Quall show and we're going to spread the news.
Indiana Sports Beat is the official media partner for the Indiana TBT. Anything they need, baby. We'll do the shows from the practices, whatever is needed. Speaking of that, practice, where are you guys? Are they going to get together in Bloomington? And because I know that they don't get a lot of time to practice, maybe a week.
Yeah. I don't know if those details have been hashed out yet. I mean, again, there's only been 2 players that have announced. And again, when I was shooting out names, it was all things that just sounded really good. And now you got to try to get a commitment from those players. So the fact that Josh and Devontae are committed and they're in is really good. And I think because those guys, with the relationships they had on the former teams, I think they've got no issues bringing other players along. I think it might be a little difficult. I don't know. I don't know if Assembly would be willing to let them practice. And I know these guys are coming from all areas of the world even. So I think that's going to be a hard part, is finding a place that is kind of centralized for everybody and is easy for everybody to get to. I think that's going to be a big battle. So, yeah, it's something worth a conversation to one of my guys who's on staff.
Good call. I got 3. I already mentioned DJ White, and 2 other names just jumped out at me that I just Mr. Yogi Ferrell and Cody Zeller. Huh?
Yeah,
happened to be available.
Happened to be available. I'm telling you, there's a couple names from these Big Ten championships, especially in 16, that you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm not going to give anything away, Jim.
Not yet. I get it. But
if you see some names pop up, I think a lot of Hoosier fans are going to go, "Oh man, I'm definitely tuning into this."
When's the next release do you think is going to happen?
That's the thing. Like I with all the communication that I had done, I had no idea they were even reaching out to guys yet. So when I saw Devontae's name come across, I kind of knew he was one of the guys that they wanted to get going. Josh was also on that list, and his name just dropped, the end of last week. So I actually don't know when these things are really happening. I'm just kind of the middleman to get them to the right people, and it's all out of my hands from there.
Who's kind of then putting it together, or who are you? Or are you working with somebody to put it together, to manage it?
Well, there's a lot of research, or there's a lot of reaching out that you have to do to the committee. You have to put a roster together. It's not just, hey, let's just go find.
I mean, are you putting the roster together? Are you?
Yeah, at the time. Yeah, in the beginning, I was the one putting the roster together, putting out names. They were running guys by me to see if it would work. And, there's some situations where, there's some teams in the past that have been all like Ohio State players, but you'll still see a couple of Big Ten names.
Right.
There were still some guys, I think, in this tournament, you really need a big to really like
Cody Zeller.
You need a Zeller. You need a big. I mean, Ohio State's got Dallas Lauderdale, who's just a monster down low. And when you're watching this tournament over the years, you see that if you don't have a big, it's really hard to compete. So, I was putting together a list of guys who I had numbers with, or had guys that, might be available. I don't know if they would be, but they could be. So I was just doing stuff like that and reaching out and saying, hey. And one of the guys who's going to be coaching is a former manager of ours when we were at IU. And, he is gone, and he's done, he's been on college coaches' staffs over the years, and then recently moved into more of a trainer and a facilitator. And so he just came to me one day a couple months back and said, hey, I'd love to get your input. I'd love to get you on the staff. And I said, hey, I don't know if I'd be able to do that. but I will help you in any possible way I could. So from there, it was just trying to rally guys and get phone numbers because, you know, even from my time being on staff at IU, these guys have gone through 2 or 3 different numbers. So it's just trying to track them down and see if they're interested.
That's a funny thing you bring up there. I've been trying to get one of my or writers to research and do a story of which it's almost impossible, but to track every IU manager that has gone into coaching or gone into basketball because it's an astonishing number.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
And finding all those guys. Who's going to be coaching the TBT team?
It's going to be Trace Scotty, who was a former manager back when we were in the, oh God, it was my first couple years on staff. And then took off, went to Xavier, was under Travis Steele for about 2 or 3 years, and then got an opportunity to coach or work out players with I don't think it was an AAU team, but they had a facility that he was managing. And then just, you know, he just said he loved it, said he loved that grind and loved kind of having his own schedule, and then presented me with this opportunity. So I was like, dude, good for you, man.
Well, that's very cool. You're back and forth in Evansville, of course, our great fans listening down there on 97.7 The Ref. And what are you doing down there, and how can people interact, or what can we get them to do?
Yeah, so my role here with the bank is community development. So what I do is, you know, I'm just out and about, and you know, I'm on calls, and I'm trying to get our foot in the door to build new business. And when I took the job originally, and I'm now in year 3, the CEO Don Neal was a huge basketball fan. He's a huge Hoosier fan, and one of the things that he started doing was down in Evansville, and it's gone from USI to the Ford Center at Evansville, and then back to USI, is a tournament called the River City Classic. And what he wants to do is he just wants to get neighboring schools, which now could broaden to even across the river into a little bit of maybe some Kentucky schools, but it's just to get teams together. And he's a basketball fan. He's a basketball nut, and so am I. And so when me and him get down there and it gets down to basketball season, we put on this tournament, and we just go and just watch games for the weekend and just show the community that we are very heavily vested, because that's where we planted roots. You know, United Fidelity Bank, although it wasn't called that, was started in Evansville, and you know, we just want to make a big name down there because that's where we were born and raised.